Hi, I'm somewhere in Atlantic City eating good East Coast food, laying by the pool, in Atlantic City indoor pool, or maybe I'm still sleeping. But in any case, I'm going to do three things for you right now. I'm going to give you the answers to the homework, and then I'm going to tell you exactly what's on your quiz, and I'm going to give you a practice quiz exactly like it and go over it tomorrow right before you take it. And then I'm going to give you another lesson on grouping, because after the quiz tomorrow, you're going to do a homework on grouping, and you're going to do it for me, and I'll be checking it on Wednesday. All right, so let's start with 7F, and try not to fall asleep. I know this isn't exciting as a video game, but knowing how to factor is the most important thing you're going to do in the next 3 months. So we all have to learn how to do it. Okay, now that story problem of the flowers, you had 40 and 28, and the greatest common factor, just like the one I gave you on Friday, was 4. So you're going to have all these flowers, orange and yellow, in rows of 4. Okay? Then it says she wants to plant only one color per row. Well, we have 68 flowers. So 4 goes into 68 17 times. That means we're going to have 17 rows. So 17 rows of 4, 17 rows of 4. And since there are, how many orange? 40 orange, that'd be 10, 40 divided by 4, 10 rows of orange. And there would be, let's see, 28 yellow, 7 rows of yellow. Just divide everything by 4, basically. All right, now, number 2 through 6, you're supposed to know how to do a factor tree. You know, I think it's kind of an easy question to throw on a quiz since it's a 6th grade standard. But you can start out with any 2 numbers. You know, you could start out with 2 times 20, 5 times 8, 4 times 10. It doesn't make any difference. So if you started with something different and got a different answer, you just made a mistake in your computation. I'm just going to do 4 times 10, 2, 5, 2, 5. There's my prime numbers, numbers that can't be divided by anything. And I want you to write it with an exponent. So that's the final answer. Okay, number 3 is 54. Comes to mind to me is 6 times 9. That's 2 and 3. That's 3 and 3. Your answer should be 2 times 3 cubed. By the way, you sub can pause this at any time if I need to slow down. And if somebody has a question, have the subs pause this and somebody in the class can answer it. 32, 2 times 16, 2 times 8, 2 times 4, 2 times 2. Final answer, 2 to the 5th. Number 5 was 96. It's an even number, so you should start out by breaking it up, by dividing it by 2. There's another even number, there's another even number, there's another even number, and another even number. So the final answer is 2 to the 5th power times 3. I'll make sure I'm making these answers right. All right. And then the last one, 98, it's an even number, so why not cut it in half? And then you can see that 7 times 7. So it's 2 times 7 squared. Be sure the sub, hope it's Miss Dubin, is pausing in case you aren't getting answers fast enough. All right, greatest common factor for 14 and 21. The biggest number that divides into both of those is 7. 15, 30, and 60. The biggest number that divides into all of those is 15. 15 goes into 15, goes into 30, goes into 60. Okay? Greatest common factor of 17 and 31. The only thing that goes into 17 is 1 and 17. The only thing that goes into 31 is 1 and 31. So the greatest common factor is 1. Not 0, not none, it's 1. It's called relatively prime. 18 and 27, the biggest number that divides into both of those is 9. And I hope I'm doing these right because I don't have the answers in front of me. And 36 and 54, the greatest common factor that divides into both of those, you might have missed this one, is 18. The prime factorization of 36 is 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. The prime factorization of 54 is 2 times 3 times 3 times 3. So if ever you don't know the greatest common factor, don't guess. You probably put 6. Go ahead and do the greatest common prime factorization, and then either row, because they're the same, 2 times 3 times 3. Greatest common factor is 18, not 9. You had 9, didn't you? Well, who knows? My dog's down here chewing his bone. Okay, greatest common factor, 12a squared b cubed, 30a b to the 4th. The biggest number that divides into both of those is 6. The biggest amount of a's that are in common is 1 of them. And the most b's in common is 3 of them. Okay, number 13. 36x squared y, 54xy squared z. Now, we just found the 36 and 54, the greatest common factor was 18. So again, the greatest common factor is 18. If you ever have trouble, just do a factor tree and circle the ones in common. The most x's they have in any one row is 1, the most in common. The most y's in common in any one row is 1, and they don't both have a z, so that's the greatest common factor. The next one is negative 15a cubed and 20a. The highest number that both can be divided into is 5, and the biggest amount of a's they have in common is 1. 5a is the answer. Okay, the next one is 13a to the 4th and 2b cubed. Well, there's nothing in common with these two prime numbers except 1, but you're not going to write a 1. Well, you are going to write a 1 because that's the answer, because there's nothing in common here. Now, if they had some variables in common, you would dump the 1. But 1 is the only thing that goes into both of those. Negative m6n to the 4th, 4m3 to the, or times n. Okay, there's no number in common except for 1, but we're not going to need it. The most m's that they have in common is 3 of them, and the most n's they have in common is 1. And you know you're going to be using this information to factor. 27a cubed bc, 45a cubed b to the 4th, c to the 4th. Okay, this is number 17. Now, number 17, 9 goes into both of them. They both have a cubed. They have one b in common. And they both have one c in common. That's the final answer. Okay, negative 15 g squared h cubed, negative 10 gh. When you have two negatives, pull the negative out, and then they both have a 5 in common. They have a g in common and an h in common. And then finally, number 19, 3x squared, 15x cubed, and negative 9x. Well, they all have an x, and they all have a 3. Final answer, 3x. Now, let me review. Well, let me talk about the quiz first. On the quiz are 10 questions worth 10 each. Quiz is 100 points. It is over sections 7.0 to 7.3. I'm going to give you a homework assignment I copied and pasted like the quiz. I've changed some things around. But number 1 on the quiz is telling me the name of the polynomial. For example, if you have x squared minus 6x, that is a quadratic because of the second power, binomial because of 2. Now this is a multiple choice. So you don't have to memorize how to spell it or anything. You just have to know, binomial, trinomial. Okay, if I add a term to it, it automatically becomes a trinomial, and it's still quadratic. All right. let's take x cubed plus x. That is a binomial because it has two terms, and it's to the third power, so it's cubic. To the third power is cubed, cubic binomial. If I add a term to it, it's a cubic trinomial. If I only had one, it's a cubic monomial. And that's pretty much all you need to know. Okay, now, you need to be able to do these really fast because I'm going to give you the trinomial, and on multiple choice, you're going to give me the binomials that produced it. Now, you don't know how to factor yet, but you do know how to multiply. So you could multiply all of these and then see which one it's equal to. I'm going to give you a trinomial. So let's say you get x squared plus 2x minus 3x, hope this isn't off the screen, minus 3. Then you're going to add like terms. So that's x squared minus x minus 6. So if that was my question, that'd be the one you choose. Okay? Now always pause when, if they need to look at it. I'm just going fast because I don't know how much time this is all going to take. Okay, x plus 3 times x plus 3. There is a shortcut, but I'm not going to discuss it today. If you didn't learn the shortcut on Friday, just go the long way, just in case. Okay, that's x squared plus 3x, and again plus 3x. You shortcut people, you got 6x, plus 9. Final answer. And just look and see if that's the question. Okay? When you learn how to factor, you'll know what it is right away. This one, x squared minus 3x plus 9. X squared minus 6x plus 9. If that's the question, you'd be picking that one. And then finally, x squared plus 9x plus x plus 10. X squared plus 10x plus 10. Okay? Just multiply them all to be sure you got the right one. You have plenty of time. 10 questions isn't going to take long. Then I have a question. And I say, write it in standard form. So half the question, you have to write it in standard form, go to the highest place value. And then give the degree. So, doesn't even say give the degree. The degree is 4, by the way. It says state the leading coefficient, 4. It's the first coefficient after you put them in order. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is simplify. So, always rewrite it. You people trying to do this part in your head mess up. I've seen it every day. 8x squared minus 4x plus 5. We don't change anything here because there's a positive out here. But there's a negative out here, so this becomes positive 3x and negative 8. Now we're going to add like terms. We have a negative 4x and a positive 3x. That's negative x minus 3. That's the final answer. When you have no like terms, you are done. These are not multiple choice, so you're going to have to do this on your own without a guess. Then I'm going to have somewhere you have to multiply. Let's say 2x plus 7 squared. If you don't know the shortcut, don't use it. Take your notes out and find it, but I'm not going to teach it right now. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times 7 is 14x. We get 14x again. And 49. Final answer, 4x squared plus 28x plus 49. Okay? Shortcut people. Never mind. Said I wouldn't do it. I'm not going to do it. I baby you. All right, 3x. Oh, yeah, there's going to be one where you just have to use the distributive property. Let's make the numbers a little harder. If you don't know your multiplication tables, you can always use a calculator. So this times this is 18x cubed. This times this is negative 18x squared. And this times this is negative 24x. Okay? I got a big lesson to get in, so don't be taking too long on this. Doing the quiz review will be enough. Oh, when you have a plus and a minus of the same thing, the middle term's going to disappear. But I'll do it the hard way. Minus 28x plus 28x minus 49. Middle term always disappears when you have the same binomial except for the sign, because they cancel out. That is the difference of two perfect squares. And then you're going to have to state the degree of some monomials. So let's say I have 6a squared b to the fourth c. That has a 2, that has a 4, that has a 1. 2 plus 4 plus 1. The degree is 7. You have notes on all this. And then you're going to have to state the degree of a polynomial. Now, when you have a polynomial, and I'll have it in order. When you have a polynomial, you have a monomial. You're adding 4 monomials. So on a polynomial, you're only stating the degree of the highest, 5. If it was 7x to the fifth y, then it would be 6. If I had another one, it'd be 7. These don't matter. These don't matter. Okay, that is basically your quiz. There's going to be a really crazy bonus on it that only the A students should try. Everybody else should be checking their work. It is a lot better to check your work and get a full 10 points on your quiz than it is to do a stinking 5-point bonus and not check your work. Now, if you have time to do both, great. Anybody should try it. But it is very difficult, and I bet 5 people don't get it, all right? So, oh, maybe more. I don't know. I just made it really hard because I wanted the people that are really fast to sit down and do something tough. Okay. The next thing I'd like to do is continue my lesson on grouping and greatest common factor. And you're going to get another set of notes tomorrow to look at when you're working on it. And basically, there's 2 kinds of factoring that I went over. One of them was just finding the greatest common factor first. You know, that's a binomial. You're not going to do grouping. So, write it in order. And then pull out the greatest common factor. The biggest number that divides into both of these is -4. The biggest amount of x's they share is x. So to factor this, you pull out -4x, and -4x times what gives you this back? Well, you need a 2 to get the -8 back. And there's 3 x's here. We only have 1. So let's put another one. Always mentally multiply this times this and make sure that's what that is. That's the thing. I even do that so that I don't mess up. Oh, dropped a piece of paper. Oh, my knee. Okay. Now, how do you get 20 back? You multiply it by 5. It's a -20. You already have a negative, so it's +5. And you already have an x. Now, use the distributive property to multiply to make sure you get that back. You know how to do this. All of you know how to do this. Multiply this times this, you get that. Multiply this times this, you get that. Okay? Now, that's a review of how to find the greatest common factor. If you struggle tomorrow, fast forward to that and do one of those. I'd like to spend most of the time on grouping questions. I made up a bunch of them, and I would like to do those for you. I do want you to know that you will get some hard ones before you do some grouping. You will get some greatest common factor problems that are much more difficult than the ones we've been doing. Just go slow. And look, what's the biggest number that goes into all of those? Now, this isn't grouping because you don't have 4 terms. Okay, 16 goes into 16 and 32. Now, how many x's do they share? 2 of them. And there's a y here, but there's no y here. So that is the greatest common factor. Now, how do you get this back? You already have a 16. There's 4 x's missing. And if your sub wants to just put a problem up there and then pause it, and then I'll be doing it, you can check it and do it at your desk. You decide with your sub if you want to do it that way or if you just want me to keep teaching. Seems to me like me keep teaching is kind of a bore, but let me show you this problem, and maybe in the next few you can do, by pausing. You can do this till the end of the period. Your homework is just 10 short quiz questions for practice, so I really don't want the sub to give you your homework until the end of the period anyway. And I'm going to be going over and over a bunch of these until I run out of time. And if you're going to try some, you're definitely not going to get to all of them, but they will all be on your notes tomorrow. So I'm just going to keep going, and the bell will probably ring, and then you get your homework and go and be ready for tomorrow's quiz. All right, so tomorrow you can watch the rest of the video if we didn't get to it. It's no big deal. When you're in class, bring your computer. No phone zone, no phones, and bring your computer. All right, so I know I just went off on a tangent in the middle of a problem. It's Friday night and it's late. Okay, now, how do I get this? Okay, I need a y to the 4th, because I already have my 16, I already have that, y to the 4th, plus 2xy squared. Now, what I always, I'm not missing. Now, what I always do before I put an answer down is I go back and I check. Okay, I have a 16, x to the 6th. Then I have 16, x squared, y to the 4th. Then this times this is 32, x to the 3rd, y squared. Check. My answer's right. All right, the next one, let's see. Let's go with 5b to the 4th minus 15, b to the 3rd, plus 3 minus b. Put them in order. I'm just going to go ahead and erase it and put it in order. But you have to remember to do that or you'll have troubles. All right, 4 terms. None of them have anything in common. But these 2 can be grouped, and these 2 can be grouped. The greatest common factor of just these 2, ignore this for now, is 5b to the 3rd times the quantity. How do I get that back? I got a b missing. 5b to the 4th minus 3, and that's all I need. Okay? Now, always write the same thing again. Once you've written it again, how is that b going to be a negative? Well, you're going to put a -1 out here. Notice, negative b, positive 3. If you write the same thing twice, you're always going to be okay. Now, the thing that you wrote twice gets written down first. It doesn't have to be first, it could be second. And the thing left over is your other binomial. Now, if you multiply first, outer, inner, last, you should get that back. At any time, you can tell your sub you want to try one. It's up to you. Okay, negative 12n cubed plus 15n squared plus 8n minus 10. I'm going to go look at this camera and make sure. Okay, good. My whole board's in. All right, all of these have nothing in common. So we're going to group these and group these. Looking for the greatest common factor here. I'm not sure if I'm going to teach you to pull out a negative right away. Yes, I am. When the leading coefficient is negative, we like to get rid of it and get it out from inside the parentheses. So even though they both don't have a negative, we're going to pull out. Otherwise, you'll have to do it later. So let's just do it now. Negative 3 is the greatest common factor of 12 and 15. And then they both have an n squared. So after you pull that out, you get 4. You're going to get the same answer doing it the other way. 4n. Okay, and then I need a negative 5 to finish it. Let's check. Negative 12n cubed. Check. Positive times positive, negative times negative is positive. 15n squared. Check. Always write the same thing again. Now, all you got to do is figure out how does a 4 become an 8. There it is. 4n minus 5, negative 3n squared plus 2. If you have a leading coefficient that's negative, we got to come now and take it out. So you can put it in the front anywhere. You can take this over here if you want. It doesn't matter what's first. But that's now going to be positive 3n squared minus 2. I guess maybe if you didn't pull it out at first, I'm going to do that. 4n minus 5. Now, let's say we didn't pull it out first, because I'm guessing if you tried these, you did it. Let's see what happens. Let's pull out a 3n squared, okay? Oh, we're still going to have a negative. Negative 4n plus 5, okay? Negative 4n plus 5. What do we need here now? We need a negative 2. So now we're going to have a different third step. We're going to have a negative 4n plus 5 and the 3n squared minus 2. See, if you did it this way, you're still going to have to now, I didn't tell you this last week, so you wouldn't know, take out the negative if it's the leading coefficient in your parenthesis in the binomial. Take it out of there. So put a negative in front of that, which changes this to 4n and changes this to minus 5 and 3n squared minus 2. By the way, if you're struggling with this, and it's the same answer, see? If you're struggling with this, go home or during your study hall, whatever, watch the video slower. If I say something too fast, back it up and hear it again. Back it up and hear it again. I'm doing the same thing over and over. So if you can understand one or two problems, you're going to be able to do them all. But you really are going to have to learn to do this big time if you want to pass algebra. And I'm talking to A students too. Everybody has to know how to factor by grouping. It's a must. Okay, what do we got here? Then I threw in some like this. This is like the second step. Okay, you're already done. B minus 3 is the factor in common. And then 16b plus 1. Because there's always a 1 there. Okay? We just threw that in on the notes because that's when you were learning how to group. You remember that's the first thing I showed you before you started to group. Okay, let's do another grouping one. Let's do one that's a little more difficult. All right. X cubed minus 5x squared plus 10 minus 2x. That's not more difficult, but let's do it. In order first. X cubed minus 5x squared minus 2x plus 10. Okay, we have nothing in common of all four. Well, we can group it, pulling out an x squared. X minus 5. Let's check. This times this is x cubed. This times this is negative x squared. Write the same thing again. How does this become this? Multiplying by negative 2. You only have to check the first term. The other term's going to work because of the way we're doing it. So, final answer, x minus 5, x squared minus 2. Now, if you're in a class where kids are starting to get this, you might want to pause and try this one on your own. It's up to you. 7x to the 4th minus 2x to the 3rd plus 63x minus 18. All right. None of them have a greatest common. I keep saying that because pretty soon you're going to have a greatest common factor for all four that you have to pull out first. But not yet. We're not ready. All right. Greatest common factor here. I'd say it's x to the 3rd. There's no number in common. So that we need a 7x minus 2. If you wrote 7x minus 2, you got to write it again. How does a 7 become a 63? This is where not knowing your multiplication tables kills you. But for those of you that don't know them, you can take 63 divided by 7, and you need a 9. Or you could have checked the -2. You need a 9 to get it to be 18. For those of you that, kind of stink in your multiplication tables. Makes it easier. All right, so we have 7x minus 2, x cubed plus 9. Kids always ask me, can I have x cubed plus 9 first? Of course. Of course you can. All right. -2x cubed minus x squared plus 4x plus 2. You can either pull out the negative now or pull it out later. I'm just going to pull it out now. The greatest common factor here looks to me like x squared. That gives me 2x. There's my -2. There's my x cubed. Minus 1. Oh, it's plus 1. Negative times positive is negative. You got to be careful. 2x plus 1. How does a 2 become a 4? Plus 2. Negative x squared plus 2. 2x plus 1. Now we got another negative leading coefficient in here. Pull it out. X squared minus 2. 2x plus 1. Everybody forgets that step. You never want the leading coefficient in any binomial or trinomial to be negative. Some point you have to pull it out. Let's see how long this video is. I know it's a short day. Okay, it's already 31 minutes. And I know your class is only 40. So let's just do one more and be done with it. Might have already done this. I hope not. Let's go with 6x to the 4th. Oh yeah, this is one with the greatest common factor. I'm not sure there's even one on your homework, but this will be a lesson when I get back. So let's do it. Minus 4x to the 3rd plus 12x minus 8. Notice all 4 of them are even. Now they don't have a variable in common because this doesn't even have one. But all 4 of them have a 2. You have to pull it out. That's when I use a bracket. Let's pull out the 2. We get 2x to the 4th minus 2x cubed plus 6x minus 4. Now you're just going to keep bringing that 2 down until the end. Let's just work inside the bracket. Group it, group it. Okay, just remember that 2's there. Some kids like to drop it until the end, but then they forget about it. Greatest common factor here is, okay, I'm going to put the 2 right there so I don't forget it exists. You don't need it till the end. Greatest common factor is 2x to the 3rd times the quantity x minus 2. X minus 2 again. And we need a 3. Bring the 2 down. You have x minus 2, 2x cubed plus 3. And that 2 just stays attached. That is that. I know that's rough. We will practice when I get back. I have no intention of giving a quiz on this until most of my students know how to do it. And I mean like 90% of you. The other 10%, maybe you're just too lost and you need to come in the morning. I'll be here Wednesday morning, and we'll practice all day Wednesday, okay? And I'll give you, I'll try to come up with some more homework on it, and we'll just do board work on it. Everybody will go out and practice it until we get it right, okay? Tomorrow after your quiz, you are going to do a worksheet on this. Do the best you can. I want you to really try. I suggest you do it on a separate sheet of paper. I'm not sure what the directions say. You'd have to write super small to do it on the worksheet. My guess is it says separate sheet of paper, and you'll do it after your quiz. Take your time on your quiz. The next video will be tomorrow. Right when you come in, we'll play the video real fast of the quiz practice, and then you can take the quiz. It'll be fresh in your mind. All right. Signing off. Wait, my dog wants to say hi. Come here, Larry. Come here. Come here, baby. Come here. Let's say hi to my students. I want you to see how much bigger he's gotten. Oh, yeah. Okay, say hi to everybody. Yeah, say hi. You're such a good boy. All right, signing out.